Hi, welcome to our first in a series of videos intended to enable you in developing and deploying fully managed AI agents in DataRobot. This introduction is intended to show you how to understand how agents work and get started with AI agent development using workflows. We will discuss what an agent is and how it differs from simple applications. We will introduce you to CrewAI, which is one of the many agentic workflows that are available and supported by DataRobot. And finally, we will create a workflow in a Jupyter notebook which illustrates and explains how each of the workflow components work. In a following video, we'll deploy that workflow into DataRobot using a DataRobot template. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of AI agents. An AI agent is an autonomous system designed to achieve a specific goal. Unlike a simple tool, an AI agent acts as an active team member. It can reason, plan, and break down complex goals into actionable steps. Agents can utilize external tools like APIs and databases just like the DataRobot API. They are also designed to collaborate with other agents, delegating tasks to solve intricate problems. Finally, agents possess memory, allowing them to learn and adapt over time. So how do agents work? Agents use something called AI agent frameworks. These are systems that enable multiple AI agents to work together autonomously, each with special roles, tools, and capabilities to complete multi-step workflows without constant human intervention. It transforms AI from a simple question and answer interface into a collaborative team of digital workers that can plan, execute, and coordinate tasks to achieve business objectives. There are 4 core components to CrewAI: agents, tasks, tools, and crews. Agents are specialized AI workers with defined roles like data engineer, ML engineer, business analyst. Tasks are specific work units with clear inputs and outputs. Think train 3 models and compare metrics. And the tools, connections to your existing infrastructure, applications, functions, databases, or API calls. And then there's crews, which orchestrate the workflows in sequential, parallel, or hierarchical execution. And we'll discuss that a little bit later. The key benefits of this are modularity with reusable components across projects, scalability to run complex workflows repeatedly, integration, connect to things like DataRobot, MLflow, databases, and custom functions, and then reliability, structured workflows with error handling. The bottom line is that you can transform your data science processes from sequential notebooks into collaborative AI teams, better organization, more reliable execution, and production-ready workflows. All right, let's get into the core concepts of CrewAI. Starting with core concept 1, the agent. Think of this as the who. The idea behind this is when building an AI crew, agents are your team members, but not generic ones. Well, you want specialists who work with a role and bring in real expertise. Think of it like hiring. You wouldn't say, I need someone to work here. You define exactly what kind of professional you need. So there's 3 pillars of agent identity. The first one being role. This is the professional identity. This is your agent's job title, and it's powerful. Senior financial analyst versus MLOps specialist sets a completely different context for how the agent behaves. The role tells the LLM, this is who you are, and I think you should act accordingly. The second one is the goal. This is the driving mission. Every great professional has a clear objective. Analyze market trends for tech stocks creates a very different mindset than monitor production models for data drift. The goal shapes every decision. The third core concept is the backstory, the expertise foundation. This is where the magic happens. Backstory gives your agent personality, experience, and depth. It's not flavor text. It's the foundation for higher quality reasoning. When you tell an agent it's a skilled data analyst who specializes in extracting meaningful insights, you're programming sophisticated behavior patterns. Why this matters. Context drives quality. The LLM can be incredibly capable, but without proper context, it's just raw intelligence. These 3 elements provide the framework that channels the intelligence into expert-level performance. Let's compare these 2 agents. The first one being a generic or a poor example with a role of assistant, a goal of help with tasks, and a backstory of you're helpful. This doesn't really describe what it needs to do or give it any context or any persona. versus a specialist, which is or a really powerful example of a role of a data scientist or senior data scientist. Goal, identify and deploy the highest performing ML models for production, with a backstory of seasoned data scientists with 10 years of model experience and ML ops, understanding the balance between performance and production reliability. So this is where we get into the persona effect. Here's what happens when you get this right. The agent doesn't just complete the tasks, it approaches them with a professional judgment. It considers edge cases, suggests improvements, and provides insights that feel like they're coming from someone who's been doing this work for years. This is the persona effect in action. Your agent thinks and acts like a real professional in that domain, bringing consistency and expertise to every interaction. So the key takeaway is agents are specialized team members. The time you invest in defining their role, goal, and backstory directly translates to the work quality and consistency. A well-designed agent doesn't just complete tasks, it brings a professional expertise to every interaction. All right, so the second core concept is the tool. Think of this as the how. A tool in CrewAI is simply a function that an agent can decide to use. Think of it as extending the agent's capabilities, giving it hands to manipulate the world, eyes to see new information, and a voice to communicate with other systems. There are three categories of tools in CrewAI. Information gathering tools, which help agents collect data, like web search functions, database queries, API calls, file readers, etc. Your agent can research and investigate instead of just guessing. Second is their action-oriented tools. These let agents make things happen. Database writes, API calls that trigger actions, file creation, system integrations. Instead of just suggesting what to do, your agent can actually do it. Finally, there are domain-specific tools. These make your agents true specialists. An example of this would be something like get customer churn probability for a customer success agent, or for like a data analyst agent would be execute a SQL query, or for an MLOps agent, deploy models to production. These tools are game changers because it takes your application or your agent from passive to active. Without tools, you get recommendations. With tools, you get results. Your agent doesn't just tell you the top performing model, it retrieves that information and acts on it. With tools, the agent uses the Get DataRobot Leaderboard tool, analyzes actual results, identifies the best model, and then uses the Deploy Model to Production tool to put it into service. The difference is night and day. The key takeaway is that tools are what separate useful AI agents from impressive demos. When you give an agent the right tools, you're not just adding features, you're fundamentally changing what's possible. The agent transforms from an advisor to an active participant in your workflow. Okay, core concept number 3 is the task. Let's think of this as the what. If your agents are specialists, then tasks are their job descriptions. A well-defined task is the difference between an agent that delivers exactly what you need and one that wanders aimlessly through your DataRobot environment. So what is a task? A task in CrewAI is a specific work assignment you give to an agent, like a detailed project brief that contains everything the agent needs to succeed. It's not just analyze data. It's a comprehensive instruction manual for accomplishing business objectives. And so there are 3 core components. The first one is the what and how, or your detailed instruction manual. Don't just say research competitors. Tell the agent exactly what to do. Things like which specific companies or products to investigate, what information sources to use, which analysis framework to apply, or any constraints or requirements. The second is expected output, or the success criteria. Define what victory looks like. Instead of hoping the agent figures it out, explicitly state what you want to see in the end. Things like a JSON object with competitor pricing and feature comparisons, or a markdown report analyzing market positioning, or something like an executive summary with strategic recommendations. The third core component is the agent assignment, or the who. Every task needs an owner. Assign tasks to specific agents based on their role and available tools. Your research agent handles data gathering while your analyst agent focuses on strategic insights. So a real-world example here. So let's think of a bad task. telling it to look at our competition and write something about them. That's not going to give it much information. So a good task will have a description, expected output, and agent. This description might look like: use web search tools to research the top 3 competitors in our market segment, analyze pricing models, key features, recent product announcements from the last 6 months. Then an expected output is something specific, like a structured report comparing each competitor's strengths, weaknesses, and a market positioning with actionable insights for our product strategy. And the agent is assigned to the market research specialist with web search analysis capabilities. So why does this matter? Tasks are where the rubber meets the road. You can have the most sophisticated agents in the world with access to powerful tools and data sources, but if your tasks are vague and poorly structured, your results will be inconsistent and disappointing. Well-defined tasks ensure your agents deliver reliable, actionable outcomes every time. So some best practices along these lines are: be specific. Instead of analyze data, say examine sales trends from the last quarter and identify the top 3 growth drivers. And then define clear success. Your expected output should specify exact formats, key elements, and quality standards. And then also match agent expertise. Don't ask your content writer to perform a financial analysis. Assign tasks based on the agent's strengths and available tools. So a key takeaway is: a task is a contract between you and your agent working within DataRobot. The clearer the contract, the more effectively your agents can leverage DataRobot's capabilities to deliver exactly what your business needs. Invest time in writing good tasks, and your Agentic AI will transform how you work with your DataRobot platform. So the fourth and final concept is the crew. This is where the agents, the tasks, and the processes are defined and organized. We've covered agents and tasks, but I want to kind of dig into process. So there's 3 different process types. There's sequential, which is going to be the most common, which is basically this is an assembly line approach, one after the other. And the second one would be a hierarchical process, and this introduces something like a manager agent that coordinates everything that's in its kind of domain. And the third one is the parallel process. This is where tasks run simultaneously when they don't depend on each other, and this is great for independent research streams or when you want to speed up execution by running compatible tasks or not dependent tasks at the same time. So some examples of the 3 are: sequential would be a research, write, and then edit, and each step builds on the previous one. And the hierarchical one would be the manager assigns research topics, reviews drafts, and coordinates revisions. Then a parallel one would be multiple researchers working on different topics simultaneously. So key thing to remember here is the process doesn't change what your agents do. It changes when they do it. So it changes the order, changes the timing, whatnot. Each task still gets assigned an agent, but the process is to determine the scheduling and coordination for those tasks. So when you're designing your crew, you ask yourself, do my tasks depend on each other? And if so, you want to use sequential. Do I need oversight and coordination? Then hierarchical. Can work happen simultaneously? Then parallel. The process type you choose should match your workflow requirements and not your agent capabilities. The last flag I want to show on here, or last variable I want to show on here, is verbose. And what this does is just changes the level of output of your agent. Sometimes you just want a result, and sometimes you want to watch the agent work. And we will see this when we deploy this later, and when we run this later. Oh, and one more thing. As you can see here on the left, we've got a setup for a single agent and a multi-agent. And so at the one on the top, we've only got a single agent of a data analyst, and the second one, we've got a researcher and a writer. In the lab that we're about to do, we'll show how to do a multi-agent and show how the tasks are assigned to each agent. So with that, this is how we're going to create this. This will all be initially in a Jupyter notebook, and then we'll deploy it into DataRobot later. So in this lab, we're going to create a multi-agent workflow, as I just stated. We're going to utilize the DataRobot LLM gateway, which will allow us to use any LLM that DataRobot is connected to or hosted to, or if you have an LLM on-prem that you're connected to, you can use that as well through our DataRobot gateway. This allows you to utilize your credentials and utilize the connection into DataRobot, security into DataRobot, without having to relay specific credentials to each of the LLMs that you're connecting to. We're also going to utilize a DuckDuckGo search API, and this will enable an analyst agent to conduct research on the latest advancements in AI or whatever we choose to do it. This is kind of like this is an open-ended search tool that uses DuckDuckGo. There is no API key needed, so we put that in there for simplicity, and we will provide the code to do that. And so we're going to provide a framework notebook, a Jupyter notebook, to outline all of the stuff that we just talked about. And so we'll fill in the definitions. We'll also have the definitions predefined in another file that we're providing for your reference. And the goal here is to understand the framework, not to develop a new one from scratch. This is a tried and true approach or agent that we've already built that will help you understand how agents are built and how to modify them. And this will set the stage for the following session or the next session, where we'll deploy this into DataRobot and use it in the Agentic playground. With that, this is what our agent is going to look like. So we've got a research agent that has a role of a research analyst. Of course, we'll define this in a lot more detail in the configuration, but this is just a graphical representation. And we have a research agent with a role and a goal, and then a writer agent. And the writer agent is dependent on the researcher agent, so we will be using a sequential workflow here. And then, so what happens is the research agent goes out and does research using the tool with a research task. And then the writer agent will write a blog post based on the research report that the researcher agent produces. And then the output of that will be a blog post. So it'll use the notes to write a blog post, and we'll actually define that in more detail later. So the next steps are, we are going to log into DataRobot and open up a code space. I'm going to go ahead and skip to that. I'll spin that up and have everything ready, and I will clone this repo, and then we'll get started with that lab. All right, I am now in a DataRobot code space. I've spun this up inside of a use case where I can organize all of my code spaces, my models, my data sets, everything. In this case, I have a code space which I am going to host the notebook, and to do that, I'm going to hop over to our DataRobot community agentic enablement Git repo. And I'm going to go back into here. I copied the command from the web page, and I'm just going to paste it in here. And it's cloning that locally, or local to the code space. And I'm going to navigate into that folder. So I've got the CrewAI lab, and then the next lab that we'll do next. This will be built upon as we move forward. So now I'm going to open up this lab, and I am going to open up the notebook. And so I can probably minimize this now. And so now we're just going to walk through this lab, and I'm going to show you how this works. All right, to get started, I'm going to go through here and run the installation requirements. So it's going to run through all of that. And we can probably don't need to read all of that. It's just going to install all the packages that are needed to run this lab. And then once that's done, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to connect to the DataRobot LLM gateway and list all of the LLMs that I have available. So that's still running. Now it's done. So now I'm going to go through here. I'm going to run this, and I'm going to remark this out because I don't need to load environment variables because it's already preloaded by the code space. So now that's connecting, and then it's going to list all of the LLMs that we have access to run here. So in this case, I'm going to choose Gemini 2 Flash because I know that runs rather quickly and it works pretty well with this framework. So now we can choose a random one. I'm not. I'm going to go on to step 2, and I'm going to create the custom search tool. This tool we will be consuming with one of the agents. So I'm defining that here. If you want to learn how all of this is structured, feel free to read through this. We're just providing the code. We're just providing classes and whatnot to define that, and then some output. So I'm going to create this by running that cell. And later on, when we deploy this, this will be in a separate Python file, so this will be self-contained. And then later on after that, when we have this into a master control program, we'll load that into there and define that separately as well. So now I've got the tool defined, and now I'm going to define the crew. So this is some of the review of a rehash of some of what we talked about earlier. So I'm going to kind of skip this stuff, but it gives you some reference for the components for each of these. And so now this is where what we were talking about earlier comes into play. So now what we're going to do is populate the agents, the tasks, and everything that we talked about in all those slides before. So first thing I want to do is I want to actually specify the model here that I had copied before, which is going to be the Vertex AI Gemini 2.5 Flash. So I'm going to leave that, everything else the same. And so my first agent is a senior research analyst. So that's the first one that's going to go out and do the research using the tools, which I've already specified the search tool in here. So what I'm going to do, I want to set the goal, but I want to be something descriptive, like I had indicated before. And for brevity's sake, I'm going to copy and paste these to show you just kind of what it needs to look like. And so this is uncover cutting. The goal is to uncover cutting edge developments in AI and data science. And then I'm also going to give it a backstory. And I'm actually copying this from the answers file, which is also in the repo. And I'm going to just populate that in here. So I'm giving it a pretty descriptive backstory. You work at a leading tech think tank, and your expertise lies in identifying emerging trends. You have a knack for dissecting complex data and presenting actionable insights. And I'm setting verbose to true. This is a flag that we didn't mention before, but we can also delegate tasks to other agents. And so the next agent will have delegated the research to this agent. So we have that specified in here. And you can also specify specific LLMs for each agent. So let's move on to the next one. So we've got all of that filled out for the researcher. Let's go into the writer. And so it's a writer agent, and they're a tech content strategist. That's a fancy name for a blogger. Let's go in and let's get this goal. And it is going to be right here. We're going to craft, let's see, let me get this right here. We're going to craft compelling content on tech advancements. And so the backstory is also going to be verbose. And we're also going to be quite descriptive. I said verbose. I should have said descriptive because that's a different flag. But I'm going to provide a backstory of you're a renowned strategist known for your insightful and engaging articles. You transform complex concepts into compelling narratives. So that sounds pretty fancy for a blog writer. So now we're going to go down to the research task, and I'm going to provide a really lengthy description here. They can get very long, but this should do for this one because I know it works well. And so I'm going to conduct a comprehensive analysis of the latest advancements in AI for 2025, identify key trends, breakthrough technologies, and potential industry impacts. use the search tool. That's key as well. Use the search tool to find recent information about AI advancements. Your final answer must be a full analysis report. And then I'm going to provide the expected output and pop that in here. And so this is a comprehensive 3-paragraph report and latest AI advancements. If I wanted it to save it as a JSON file, or provide JSON data or XML or whatever format, I could specify that here. Right now, I just want text. And so the agent that is going to be assigned to this task is the researcher. So now I'm going to go to the writing task. And I'm going to provide a pretty lengthy description as well. And again, I've seen these get very long, but the more descriptive, the better, I think. So using the research analyst's report, compose an engaging blog post. The post should be easy to understand, insightful, and positive in tone. Make it sound cool. Avoid complex words so it doesn't sound like AI. Your final answer must be in a full blog report of at least 4 paragraphs. And then the expected output kind of mirrors that. And so we've assigned that to the writer. So we've got the agent, so 2 agents and the 2 tasks, and the tasks are assigned to each of the agents. And now I'm going to go down to the crew, and this is a lot simpler. So at agents, we just specify which agents we are going to do and pop them in here. And when you do a sequential agent, it's going to read them in this order. So researcher and then writer, and then the research task and writing task. Actually, it may go by the tasks, but a best practice is to keep these aligned with the task and the agent. And then again, this is going to be sequential and verbose, and that should do it. So I'm going to run this cell, and I have I forgot a comma up here. Happens. So now I've got a message saying it's defined and ready to run. So now I'm going to run the crew. And when I mentioned the verbose setting before, this is what it's going to show with verbose logging. If you want to cut out some of this, you can cut out you can change the setting on the crew or the agents or the tasks. So it's going to go through here, and I'm going to try and get to the bottom here. This can get very long. So yeah, so we've got this agent, and you can see the answers and everything going through here, and we've got our final output here. So one thing that I want to do, I want to change the verbosity kind of so this cleans it up a little bit, and then I think we'll have this complete. So I'm going to set this to false here. And I'm going to run this again. So this should be a little bit shorter with less noise. Yeah, there it goes. So it's going through, it's still running. So we've got our search results from the tool. It's still running. This will take a minute, as it did last time. We just did a lot more scrolling. There it goes. So that's the second agent that's starting up. This is the output of the research analyst. So this is that 3-paragraph report that we specified in the expected outcome. This is the context strategist, and this is the final answer for that agent. And this was the output of that agent. So now when you run this in our playground, this text is what's going to come back. If you are running this agent and have a custom front end, or you have an app that's communicating with this, this is what your answer, this is what your output's going to be. And so it's really that easy. We did include some testing tools for the tool up above. So if you want to play around with that, you want to test it separately, you can run that here. So with that is actually the completion of this lab. And so in the next video, what we're going to do is we will take this code and put it in a Python file and use our deployment templates to roll this out and push it into a DataRobot deployment.